Okay, let's make something. So recently I've been using a lot of like orchestral sounds, like piano, strings, stuff like that. I think what I want to do today is use like synth sounds. So let's find some synth sounds. Currently we're in B minor. I think I want to change that because the last beat or two I made was in B minor. Let's just choose G minor for no reason. You can always change it later. This sounds cool on its own. What the heck? I might just repeat this and then find something else to play underneath it. And then, well, maybe we can change it a little bit. So maybe like the first time it's here, the second time maybe we go up. So it's just slightly different, but really it's the same thing. It's just an octave up. Okay, let's repeat this, and maybe we change it slightly in like this second half over here. So, and add like some flavor notes. So it's really not adding too much extra information. It's just like little these little flavor notes. I don't know if I like it being too early here. Maybe we'll move them back like I did this last one, which was kind of by accident, but I like the way it sounded. And then that time we can just be a little different and not include it. So, in fact, I'm gonna put some reverb on this to like push it back so it's not quite as like in your face, because it's a pretty dry sound, like a very like stock sound it sounds like. It's very simple, like it's the same note just playing over and over again, but I like the sound of it. I like the texture, and I like how it like slowly kind of pulls up in volume and intensity. I think I'm overdoing it. I need to keep things simple, like I did with the with this pattern, where it's literally just the same note repeated over and over again. Let me find a sound that will work like at a lower frequency, because I don't think that one was good for that. Actually, this analog bass may work. Too low. And then maybe we can do, because I am being quite repetitive with things and things aren't changing a whole lot. So maybe in like the second half of this pattern and the second half of the pattern over here, maybe I can change a little bit. You get some like little like pulsing notes here. And maybe a note up here. Ooh, what if I like did a pitch bend? And then I want to push this choir back kind of with everything else. So it sounds like it's like with those, you know, bells and stuff that are going on. Let's do some delay. And these are like synth instruments, so they don't necessarily have to sound real, but I think I'm going to do that anyway and make some of them sound a little bit more like a person had, some involvement in making the sound. So in order to do that, I'm going to hit Control A, Alt R, which pulls up the randomization menu. And I like these settings. I just mess with the velocity mostly, a little bit of the release, and then I leave everything else alone, make sure bipolar is turned on, because otherwise you're not going to get the same kind of distribution for the randomness. Hit accept. And then Control A, Alt Q brings up the quantizer. I like the results I get from dotted eighth notes, but this, somewhere in between over here, doesn't really matter, just to taste basically. Hit accept. And then the notes we should notice are kind of randomized, pushed forwards and backwards. So if I zoom in here, these have been pushed forwards, this one has pushed back, this one hasn't moved at all, and so they've kind of been randomized. So I'm going to hit Control A, Alt S to strum anything, like any notes that are on top of each other. I probably should have done that before I randomized the timings, but whatever. And then to accentuate the randomness, I'm going to kind of select some of these at random, and I'm going to just move them back a little bit. Okay, so we're just kind of randomly selecting some of these, and go back a little bit. Unhighlight some of them, go back a little bit more. And what that does is it just kind of like adds to the randomness. Because the way that I quote unquote randomized the timings earlier, it wasn't really random. And that kind of helps with that a little bit. So here's what it sounds like now. And I'm also going to pan some of the lower notes on the downbeats. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And I do this for a number of reasons. One, it's more fun to listen to when things are going left to right and not everything is just sitting in the middle. But also, like, if you do this with the lower frequencies, the idea is you're pushing those low frequencies out to the sides and they're not sitting in the middle quite as much. So later on when you put a bass or a kick or whatever in mono, it's not competing with as much, with as many other sounds in that space. At least that's the idea. So let's pan those, and then let's do the same thing for this pattern, although this pattern is literally just the same note repeated over and over again. So I don't know if I really need to randomize the timing for this. I will, however, randomize the velocity. So Control A, Alt R, and then I'm going to pan the low notes. So let's pan these are the lowest, and I'm going to pan these the opposite direction. And let's do the other patterns. So this one is an analog bass, so it can kind of sound a little bit more real. So let's do Control A, Alt R, and then Alt Q, pull up the dotted eighth note, put this somewhere in between, and then let's kind of just take some of them and move them back. Okay, and then I'm going to pan these the opposite direction. So 1, 3, 5, and always, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. As long as things are kind of bouncing left to right and I'm getting things out of the middle, that's the main thing I'm concerned about. And let's push some of these bottom notes out to the side. So let's start going up, down, down, up, up, down, down. Okay. And then let's save all these patterns. So you can highlight all of these, hit Control C, and then just click one of these, hit Control V, and it saves all of them. And now I'm going to consolidate the patterns. So this one is the... Okay, let's put everything on the mixer channel. Okay, so this kind of turned into like an orchestral, even though I said that's not really what I wanted, like an orchestral, synthy, rage-like melody, I guess. I don't know. But it's kind of cool. So let's listen back to it.